did Abuja Declaration say? Abuja Declaration said that the aim and purpose of this particular declaration is to make sure that in Nigeria, the Muslims are appointed to all strategic positions, and the agenda is to make sure that the Christianity is dead in Nigeria. The agenda is to turn Nigeria into Islamic State, and by doing that, all position must be given to Muslims. Now, look at it today. Is it not happening? The judiciary, the executive, the legislative arm of government, the army, the police, the custom, the immigration, the navy, the air force, controlled by all of them.
Why I'm more concerned about this whole thing and what's happening in Nigeria and the trajectory that Nigeria is on. This trajectory didn't start today. It's been there for years. These guys are not in a haste when it comes to achieving their goals. If you read the history of Uthman Danfodio or all those, conquerors and whatsoever, they can play a slow game if need be. Okay, they can be very slow, but slow and steady. And going through the history of, what Lebanon was before it became an Islamic nation, and even Turkey, should make every Nigerian afraid, or every Christian, or people of other religions. Because why I'm saying this, ordinarily I wouldn't have been as concerned as I am, if not for the fact that religion influences policies. And this is what some people who are like, oh, this doesn't mean anything. What matters is competence, whoever is there, whether the same religion or whatever, they should just perform. That is not the point. Some people were of that argument until it got to that point where El-Rufai, decided to spill, which I knew was one of the things that annoyed the powers that be in APC, why they kind of actually stood against him being a minister eventually. So some people were angry because he leaked their secret. At first they told you, it's blah, blah, blah. It's nothing. It's because, Christians, Northern Christians don't have political value, blah, blah, blah. If Tinubu picks a Northern Christian, he might not win, and all the nonsense. That was what people were meant to believe. And they told us to focus on competence and blah, blah, blah. Right? And then El-Rufai came out on that video. Thank God it's like recorded and everything is on the internet. I think I still have it till date. So he came out and spoke in Hausa. I've spent the bulk. I stayed in the north for 20 something. I speak Hausa far better than my native language. So he spoke in Hausa clearly and laid out what it is, that it's an agenda. An example of that agenda is already being practiced, is what they are doing in Kaduna State as a perfect example, right? So that there is an agenda, that the whole thing, that they deceived us. That was the one that even annoyed me the most, that they deceived the people, that they told people it's not about religion, it's not about Adini, but in reality, that it's about Adini, that it's about a religion, right? So it's gotten to that point where anyone should be. And why I said this, like I mentioned when I started talking, I said religion influences policies, because at the end of the day, you might not see it now. Everything might still be like secular in terms of, in terms of policies and laws and things like that, right? But it's a gradual descent. It's going to get to that point where it's going to be like what you'll be seeing is more of people of one religion, and we know the antecedent of we know what we do. We know this religion, we know what they are capable of, right? So we know what could happen in the future. So it will get to that point where gradually in the house they will gradually start chipping in policies that are religious influenced. And then all people will do is rant, and then it stays, and then they sign it into law. So one thing is, in the eyes of the Arab world, the Saudis and the Irans and the Qatars and the UAE and the rest of them, Nigeria is an Islamic state. Let's tell ourselves the truth, in the eyes of the Arab world. And gradually, the way we're going, even the Europeans and the Americans and the rest of the world are gradually having that, they are gradually tilting towards that belief that because when you look at the way things are going, it's beginning to point to the fact that it's like this religion has more influence in this country. Because, I mean, this is a perfect example what just happened. And this is why some people, including Mahmoud, I know that you at least some people will say Mahmoud, took probably took bribe from Tinubu and the rest of them, to influence the election, the outcome of the election and everything. But at the end of the day, if you check, you will see that part of what made Mahmoud did what he did might also be the agenda that is in play, because they want to set a precedence. They want to prove a point that a Muslim ticket is a possibility. And they did by force. They did at this point. So until we wait for what the Supreme Court has to say, but they did, right? So I was telling my brother the other day, I say, if care is not taken, Jonathan might be the last Christian or someone of another faith that has ruled, that the last Christian president or someone of another faith president in Nigeria. It might just be Goodluck Jonathan. Because the way we're going, we saw it with the Igbos, right? At some point, they tell you, I mean, before the emergence of Peter Obi and how he swept the country like a tsunami, the belief was that, oh, Igbos have no political value. It was one of the reasons why the PDP didn't even want to give him the ticket. It was one of the reasons why the PDP ended up outside, despite what the Igbos did for that party over the years, they ended up still, giving their ticket to a northerner, right? So they don't want to, they felt that, oh, Igbos, even if they want to pay Igbos back, that it's not the time, that Igbos have no political value. That was the mindset. So gradually, if care is not taken, you can save this conversation. What I'm trying to tell you, it will get to that point. You saw when they said it in the north, when Tinubu was about to pick a running mate, he was supposed to pick a Christian northerner, and they said the Christian northerners have no political value, that he won't win. It will get to that point where you'll be hearing something like Christians have no political value. That, oh, a Christian as the president, the Christian can play running mate, but playing the actual president, that they might not win election. That is where we're gradually heading to. I will conclude by saying this: our pastors, the Christian leaders or what have you or whatever, they are very, very, not all of them. Actually, I'm not saying 100%. Of course, there will be exceptions. I'm saying that they are very, very culpable because they work hand in hand with these politicians. And of course, the whole thing about this religious thing is actually also control. It's not like they want to use the religion to make people righteous or to make Nigeria a righteous Muslim nation or what. So it's all about control. At the end of the day, it's still the power play. So they have mastered that. There's this tactic, because now these big Christian leaders, the overseers, they come in front of their congregation and they pretend to be holier than thou and everything. Oh, this God talk to me and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, behind the scene, they work hand in hand with these politicians. Because what do? The politicians will come up with their plans, and then it is the job of the Christian leaders to calm the nerves, to make you believe all is well, to give you hope, to tell you to leave everything to God and everything. That's just the game. And then they get paid some huge sum and all that. So it's a huge problem.